The two worst words you can ever hear in sports are what if. What if they took Derrick Rose out of the game when they needed to?
He was flying and he came down wrong on the left foot.
What if the Seahawks ran the ball?
I cannot believe the call. You've got Marshawn Lynch in the backfield.
What if Greg Oden never tried to block that shot?
As the Rose Garden is like a library right now.
What if Victor Oladipo never chased down Siakam on a random play?
Victor Oladipo being wheeled off at a stretcher here at Bankers Life Fieldhouse.
What if the Celtics chose Isaiah Thomas's career over a playoff run?
These gave up on me. They gave up on me.
And now, what if Victor Wembanyama is too good to be true?
According to our Shams Charania, Victor Wembanyama, the San Antonio Spurs star, is going to miss the rest of the season.
Before we get into this video, I want to ask you all to subscribe because I post weekly NBA content and it takes a lot of work as just one guy to get these videos out each week. So if you're a fan of NBA and want to help out a small channel continue to make these videos, then please subscribe. Thank you, and let's begin. 600 days ago, the basketball world held their breaths as the biggest prospect in a generation took an NBA court for the very first time. After being hyped up for years as some basketball deity, we would finally get the chance to watch him play against some of the world's top talent. It was only the Summer League, but nevertheless, it was time to finally find out what Victor Wembanyama's hype was truly about.
Watch the replay. This is a spectacular finish by Kai Jones. I don't know if Victor has ever asked about your welcome to the NBA moment, but he's going to give as good as he gets.
The hype was for nothing. Victor Wembanyama was a completely raw talent when we were told we were getting the next GOAT who was already NBA ready, and all of a sudden people were starting to question if the Spurs drafting him would be up to par with Markelle Fultz level of busts. Especially when you tack on the risk of injury from being so tall. Maybe Victor Wembanyama was simply another overhyped prospect that would never pan out, and the doubters would finally be proven correct. They were right. Victor Wembanyama didn't live up to the hype for about 2 days until he absolutely took over.
Tipped it to himself and slammed it home.
Great timing on it.
Wemby staring him down, and he forces the air ball. So there's the defensive impact. Nice rim run and the punch.
Wemby's second Summer League game would put the world on notice. He was legit, and one Rookie of the Year later, the expectations were high for his sophomore season. Maybe he could start to get his averages up and potentially get a little bit more minutes. A playoff push could even be in the works within a few years, but the expectations were all wrong, because what would ensue is something that not even I knew would happen. Night after night, Victor Wembanyama was putting on a sophomore showcase only up to par with that of Luka and LeBron, averaging a 20-point double-double on top of 4 blocks a game and becoming an absolute shoo-in for Defensive Player of the Year. Alongside his new veteran floor general in Rajon Rondo, he was sending shockwaves around the league and proving he had the sole impact to take the Spurs as far as they were willing to go. And the Spurs were willing to go far. Far enough that with just a few days left until the NBA trade deadline, they bit on a generational guard for the foreseeable future, De'Aaron Fox. Overnight, the Spurs went from play-in contenders to an absolute nightmare of a first-round matchup, and the league was all excited for it. Fans around the globe were filling up their popcorn buckets in anticipation for the first ever sighting of playoff Wemby. That is, until a calm Thursday morning when all NBA fans opened their phone to watch it all come crashing down.
NBA, according to our Shams Charania, Victor Wembanyama, the San Antonio Spurs star, is going to miss the rest of the season with what Shams is reporting, a form of a blood clot in his right shoulder. He is out for the season, and the Spurs believe that this is an isolated condition.
When the news broke that Wemby was out for the season, I was absolutely devastated. Not only would this mean we'd have to wait to see how he responds to a competitive playoff environment, not only would he be ineligible for the honor of becoming the youngest depoy in NBA history, and all of a sudden it seems that maybe the unicorn destined to save the NBA ratings and become the next face of the league for generations was actually too good to be true. Victor Wembanyama has deep vein thrombosis, thrombosis, a similar injury that ruined the career of a similar towering legend like Bill Walton and most famously Chris Bosh. But it's also an injury that athletes more recently have found full recoveries from, like Brandon Ingram. And with the way that trainers and physicians have basically engineered Wemby since birth, I have no doubt that he will make a full recovery from this. However, it still begs the question, is Wemby injury prone? Will this become a problem long term? How long will it be until we see him touch an NBA court again? And more importantly, what if Victor Wembanyama doesn't pan out? We have seen massive what ifs in the history of the NBA before. We all watched as generational talents like Greg Oden faded to obscurity and former MVPs like a young Derrick Rose had their athleticism stripped from them just from one play. And despite the Spurs claiming that this won't be a recurring issue, the fact that there is now a possibility of Wemby being hindered from having a long and prosperous career already makes this injury one of the biggest what ifs in NBA history. Now I know what you're thinking, that is a heinous claim. Derrick Rose literally won an MVP prior to his injury, and Wemby is most likely going to be fine from this, but to that I answer, Wemby is not an MVP caliber player. Victor Wembanyama is on the upper echelon of GOAT potential, and even the tiniest possibility of obscuring that existing makes itself an immense issue for the NBA. Yes, this is a serious injury being treated with the utmost care as of now, but the long-term repercussions of this injury and what it could entail 15 years down the line make it already the biggest what if in the history of the league. Not what if Victor Wembanyama never got hurt, but rather what if Victor Wembanyama can't be who we know he can be. I hope that 3 or 4 years from now, when he hoists his first MVP and makes his first finals run, we can look back and call me out for a clickbait video like this one. And I genuinely hope that's the case, but there are two paths from today as of now. One where Wemby retires a top 5 player in NBA history, potentially top 3, and one where he becomes the next injury-riddled what if in the NBA. As of now, both of those paths stem from one singular event. That event being this very diagnosis. So let's hope that we're treated to generations of Victor Wembanyama basketball. Anytime we are dealing with a prospect of this caliber, what ifs are sure to follow. But what if this injury is a blip in the long-running legacy of the NBA's next GOAT? Subscribe. It's free.